Hi, everybody. Welcome to chapter 12, our very last chapter. If you're watching this video, you have like a couple more things to do and you're totally done for the semester, which is so exciting. It seems like it went by so fast and you guys were an amazing class. Everybody worked really hard. I can see by all the time you spent on Cengage and the accuracy level that you achieved as a class that everybody worked really hard. And it seemed like for most of you that an online section seemed to work really great for you. So I think you guys did really great and I'm really impressed with all of you. Let's talk about one last problem from chapter 12. I want to talk about problem number 3. This is one where you're doing a problem that's very similar with different numbers. So let's take a look. This is on the interest and penalties. So of course the IRS wants to make us pay and discourage us from not filing our tax return or not paying any tax that's due, and the penalties can get a little steep, especially if there's fraud that's involved. Kind of a thing that we seem to know and understand in this society and culture is don't mess with the IRS. Even if you file bankruptcy, money that's owed to the IRS is not something you can write off in bankruptcy. So it's just kind of something that you're stuck with. Okay, let's look at part A. Wilson filed his tax return on the original due date. So he did file, but he failed to pay $700 in taxes that were due with the return. If Wilson pays the taxes exactly 2 months late, calculate the amount of his failure to pay penalty. So looking in our book, it's in section 12-3. There's a section on page 12-12, the failure to file and failure to pay penalty. And you can see in that section, the penalty for failure to pay is 1/2 of 1% of the amount of taxes due for every month. And this is for 2 months. So I'm going to pull up my calculator. Should have had that open already. So for every month, it's 1/2 of 1%. So let's enter that in. That's half of 1%, right? Times 2 months, because it's 2 months. And then times the amount that's due, which was $700. So the answer to part A is $7. Okay, part 2. Joan filed her individual tax return 4.5 months after it was due, so we're definitely going to have a failure to file. She did not request an extension of time for filing, so she was not allowed, and I have my little quotation marks up. She was not allowed to file her tax return late. Along with her return, Joan remitted a check for $750, which was the balance of the taxes she owed with her return. Disregarding interest, calculate the total penalties that Joan will be required to pay, assuming the failure to file was not fraudulent. So she has a failure to file and a failure to pay. So again, looking on page 12-12 of your textbook, this problem that we're going to work right here is pretty much the same as that example that's on page 12-12. We're just going to be using different numbers, but the whole setup for how they found the answer just replaced with the number of months and the amount of tax that was due with the return is how we're going to do this problem. So it's going to look just like this. So in the problem, they told us that she filed it 4.5 months late. So also looking at the way the problem is set up on that page 12-12, this is the same exact thing. I set it up the same way. We know from problem part A, the failure to pay penalty is 0.5% per month. Here's 5 months. It says that it's 4.5 months in the problem, but we always round up because it's a month or it's a partial month. And then the amount was $750, so that gives us a failure to pay penalty of $1875. And then the failure to file penalty, that's the big one. Failure to file is 5% per month. So 5%, again, we're rounding up from 4.5 months to 5 months. And then $750. And then whenever you have both penalties, like you do in this problem and exactly how you do in that example problem that's in the book, then you deduct from the failure to file penalty the failure to pay penalty. So basically you're adding this number up here and you're subtracting this number down here. So they're saying, okay, well, since you're having to pay 2 penalties, we're not double dinging you basically. So you end up really just paying the failure to file penalty, which is the bigger one. So total penalty is $187.50. And that's the answer. So again, it's pretty much the same problem as the one that was in the book. So that was $187.50. And let's look at one more example here. Jack filed his tax return 2 months and 3 days late, did not request an extension of time for filing. Jack's return indicated that he is to receive a $50 refund in taxes. Calculate the amount of Jack's penalty for failure to file his tax return on time, assuming the failure to file was not fraudulent. So since Jack doesn't owe any money and the IRS actually owes him money, then they say, you know what? That's cool. We're not going to give you any sort of penalties because we're actually the ones that owe you money. So whenever there's a refund that's going to be due, then the IRS just says, that's cool. We're going to be cool about that because we owe you money anyway. Answer 0. Okay, that's it for the problems I'm going to talk about for chapter 12. I know I looked at a couple of the other problems that you're doing for this chapter, and they're really not too complicated. So it's been wonderful having you all in my class, and this is the last time you will hear my lovely voice making a video for you.